The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
You are indeed listening to the K-Jazz Show on the heartbeat of heritage, the soundtrack in the city, Kofifi FM 97.2. And this Sunday, we travel across sound, time, and spirit with a guest whose name literally means unity and whose music does just that. And from the bustling streets of Cape Town to the bright lights of New York City, Lumanyano Mzi is not just playing the drums. He is composing life, a multi-award winning drummer, producer, composer, and band leader whose journey started with a pulse of reggae in his father's garage and has since grown into a global rhythm of jazz, African soul, gospel, and experimental freedom. A Berklee College of Music graduate who's played with legends from Judith Sepuma, Manisi Janjis to Terilyn Carrington and Sona Shobate. And now he's stepping into his own light with a debut solo project that promises to be nothing short of breathtaking. Ithemba Elisha, A New Hope, isn't just music. It is a map back to self, a call to healing, a drumbeat of dreaming again, and a sonic love letter to humanity and all its broken brilliance. And the best part, he's bringing it all home with an upcoming tour of South Africa that promises to reconnect the roots to the sky. So whether you're tuning in right now from Kofifi Land, the Cape, or across the global, stages with our live stream, get ready to meet a young lion of music, who's roaring with grace, groove, and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, family of rhythm, Kofifi FM, please help me welcome to the K-Jazz Show, the inimitable, the luminous. His name is Lumanyano Mzi. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much for such an incredible introduction. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
Absolutely. And welcome, of course, to Kofifi FM. Now, let's take it right back. Mzi, 6 years old you are, sneaking out onto your dad's reggae rehearsals, and suddenly you are now behind the drum kit. Did you even think about, or did you know, that you were auditioning for the future that night?
Oh, I love the question. I actually did not know. I was just crying so that I wouldn't be left behind. I just wanted to be there where it's happening. That's all that was happening in my mind. I just wanted to be not left behind. My father knew I loved music, and he set precedents with taking me to places. So now when he doesn't want to take me, I'm like, what has changed? So I will make it there on my own. I know how to get there. I'll follow. I've always been observant of the routes and routes. So I made it there on my own.
Yeah. And I want to talk about, your new album, Ithemba Elisha. It's like a soul-soaked sonic prayer, part healing balm, part jazz time machine. What was the heartbeat, I guess, behind this project? And what were you personally hoping to heal or maybe say through this project?
I think personally it was, I was hoping to heal myself. This was the first time I've actually, I've ever left the country to go and live in a different country. and having gotten an opportunity to go and study at Berklee College of Music, as great and amazing as it's been and as it was, being an international student is quite a tough thing, and all those who are international students know. So I'm moving into a new country. We're moving into a new country because I moved with my wife here. And a lot is happening. There's a change in the political climate of America. I'm leaving home for the first time. I've been on tour and stuff, and I've traveled. But when you're on tour, you're coming back home. But this is going to be the new normal now. I'm going to be here for the next 4 years of my life. So with that coming the challenges of having to deal with certain uncertainties, things like funding and not knowing that I'll be able to continue whereas in my heart I want to be here and I'm enjoying of the space, but there's all these trials and tribulations. On top of it, there's a lot of things happening in the world, from wars in our world, and from political things changing here and there. I just felt that a lot of these things kind of sort of got heavy to my in my own personal self, and what I do as a musician is just to pretty much take my emotions and put them on paper as a melody. So a lot of this music came from that. Yeah.
I'm interested to find out, some of your luminaries or some of your cohorts, Naledi, Tabelo Mokhatla, and many others are also part of Simon Manana. Those who are also kind of sharing the same space in terms of, or maybe moving to a different country and being brand new, maybe, to this space. How have you navigated, this change of environment, I suppose?
Well, first and foremost, all these people you're mentioning are dear friends of mine, and Naledi actually I go way back with her as well. I got to work with her on her own project. I produced her project Batu, and being in an international space, it's quite funny, but also pretty cool that we actually always find each other as South Africans. And therefore, we create our own community, which helps us deal with these changes, and as well as, getting into meeting incredible people from all parts of the world who become our support and who become people in our ecosystem that help us actually deal with these changes.
I want to talk about, how you've got this really fantastic way of blending old school South African jazz textures with a kind of slick global futurism. Let's call it that.
I like that.
Right, right. How do
Yeah,
you make
yeah.
tradition and innovation dance so seamlessly together?
I think it comes from my curiosity of sound in general. You know, I love music for what it is, for what it does to my heart and what it does to me personally. And I've always been one who's embraced all parts of music and all parts of genres. And I've had the incredible opportunity of working in all different spaces. When you're from South Africa, when you're from Cape Town or Joburg, in order to be, in order to earn a living, you've got to be a chameleon of some sort. But with that being said, me being a chameleon of some sort comes from a really deep curiosity and love for the art of music. And so all of these things, from working with incredible groups like, as you mentioned, Azania, Freshly Ground, getting to work with people like Judith Sipuma, Mandisi Janjis, and so forth, to name a few. All of these, I consider them as the training ground of learning sonic things that I like out of music. So which also are this rich heritage that I carry with me, because I've learned from a lot of legends and people who I consider griots of our South African sound. And my vision has always to be able to authentically, play that sound, whilst embracing the things that I like sonically, So it being what did you say it was again? A global?
I called it a global futurism. A kind of slick,
I love that, actually. I love how you put it, because it being that is that also, I've also partly been really influenced by this new sound. I'm in a new country and I'm hearing things differently, and I'm also sharing my music from home with people who are interpreting it, differently. So all these things have become what
global futurism and an absolute kind of slick. Yeah. In case you've just joined us, we're speaking to Lumanyano Mzi this week. He's our page 3 artist, and he joins us ahead of a South African tour, his debut of Ithemba Elisha, meaning a new hope. And throughout our conversation, you and I have been listening to, music of this project exclusively ahead of its release on the 4th of July 2025. Of course, you're still spending time with the KJ show here every single Sunday from 10 until 1 o'clock, exclusive to Kofifi FM 97.2. You've played with icons, from Judith Sipuma and Freshly Ground to Terrell Carrington and Sona Jobate. Let's talk about those collaborations and what have those taught you about listening, about leading, and possibly about letting go,
all these collaborations actually happened all uniquely in their different ways. For example, I've had the opportunity to be mentored and taught by Terrell Carrington under the Berkeley Jazz and Gender Justice Institute, where I took a semester under her mentorship. And this was incredible, actually, also firstly because I was being taught by another drummer in an ensemble setting. And it was incredible to actually get that feedback and actually get someone who is able to also, as a drummer herself, analyze and actually pretty much point out where some of my strengths and weaknesses are, and I really appreciated that, as well as having to then perform with her last year at the Cambridge Jazz Festival. I think, last year, it may have been, I speak under correction, with the Berkeley Jazz and Gender Justice Ensemble under her wing. So we were on stage together, but we played both of us being drummers. So we shared the set as well as just some percussion on the side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And then having to be called to play with groups like Freshly Ground. I remember I subbed actually for one concert with them, and that was an incredible opportunity from my friend Peter Cohen and Simon Atwell, in which we would also then later start another group together with Simon, Julio, and Chris, who are part members of Freshly Ground, called Congo Cowboys. We just all pretty much got together due to our love of country music, and we've got an EP. We've got an EP out there, under the name Congo Cowboys, and having to work and be called by incredible percussionists like John Hassan, from Hassan Others, to be one of the musicians backing artists like Judith Sepuma, as well as playing with her as part of the Stellenbosch University Big Band under Felicia. So these incredible opportunities have all happened, and I've pretty much paid attention and learnt quite a lot, in terms of how these artists carry their craft and carry themselves. And it's been something that I myself take to heart and and try to implement in my own career journey. Yeah.
fantastic conversation this Sunday, and we're talking to Lumanyano Mzi here on the K Jazz Show, reflecting on his journey through jazz, through music as a whole, and of course, some of his favorite collaborations, the most, prolific, I guess we'll call them that. And I want to talk Berkeley. Now, what does it mean for a young man from Cape Town, to walk the halls of Berkeley and now be living and working in New York City, the belly of the jazz beast, as it were? I mean, let's talk about, reflecting on the shift in identity and dreams. I mean, it could have just begun, in the middle of Langa, in the middle of, the Victoria Wharf, and you're just like, I really want to play the drums. And all of a sudden you're in New York, where it is the hype of activity.
Speaking about Berkeley, first and foremost, it is such an incredible space. It's every musician's dream. I think, it is not by chance that I also ended up there. It's a school that I actually never knew about growing up, and only got to know about once I entered the South African College of Music, UCT. And, through, my teachers telling me about it and saying it would be a great space for me, and I understood exactly why they said that when I got there, because it pretty much was is pretty much how my brain thinks and what my brain is in terms of how much things there are at the school. It is wonderland for musicians. It's a global space with musicians from everywhere in the world. You name it: Ghana, Australia, Austria. And all this, even instrumentation wise, there's people who play indigenous instruments. There are people who love pop, rock, whatever you want. It is in that space. So being there really, really, really inspired me, and the community and students and faculty equally have really played a huge role in my music career thus far. And and I'm actually really happy that I actually got to do it at a slightly older age, because then I could actually take full advantage of the opportunity, because I actually went in knowing what I want, and having to move to spaces like New York. Oh my word. It is indeed the mecca of jazz. I love art, and I've gotten to work in all other spaces as well of artistic expressions. There's Broadway, there's things I can like get on a train at whatever time and go watch a piece by some artist, and I can get to do those things. And the musicians, it's such a dynamic city that, you will always find your people, and in its diverseness and its rich mastery and in its technical ability, there are a lot of great musicians, and who are all amazing and can play anything. It just becomes now a difficult, the difficult thing to do is to choose, who do you want to collaborate with? In which case, finding things that have nothing to do with music become more important, actually.
the project for me feels spiritual, when I listen. And it's not just music, Lou. It's a mission. I mean, and a movement, as it were. And I want to talk to you about what the words Ithemba Elisha mean to you personally, and how do you keep your own hope alive, in a world that feels, I suppose, if we can use the word, tired.
Well, first and foremost, the new hope has actually manifested itself in the people that have journeyed with me and have pretty much become family. When I think about specifically when times have just been really hard and you like, maybe I should pack it, or you don't get the answer that you desired out of a question you've asked, and you feel hopeless, and I felt that, first and foremost, I've led with hope since the age of 6, and I've always been hopeful about music and what it's done for me. I think it's mostly those times where I felt hopeless, and the music kept on coming as the hope that I needed, and this is in the music being, my people, my friends, my family, and those, I meet along the way who share words of wisdom, or who continue to, as you say, it's a spiritual, who continue to be our prayer community, and who are out there interceding for us as a family, and our families back home. So I felt that there's so much going on, and one thing we can't lose is that hope.
Well, it's amazing to be a part of, as we engage with you this Sunday here on Coffee FM 97.2. By the way, if you've just joined us, his name is Lumanyano Mzi, and we are talking about his upcoming tour. And in fact, his brand new release is simply called Ithemba Elisha. A New Hope is an album, that it has been long in making. If you look at his discography, he's worked on several projects. So it was only a matter of time until we got to get together with him and actually talk about his own personal release, which we have been. And in the past few, we've been talking about that, and of course reflecting also on his journey with jazz, including listening to some of the music that is exclusive to this Sunday here on Coffee FM 97.2. And of course, speaking about, your tour as we wrap things up, how does it feel to be able to bring this body of work home after, spending so much time, abroad? And of course, let's talk about the dates, Lou, and of course, some of the Coffee vendors are officially waiting, to come and keep up with you and come and support, these dates, these bandstands that we will be seeing you on.
Yeah, well, let me actually, before I start meandering around, let me get the dates first down. So, because I'm excited to pretty much share how it feels to bring this project at home. Just so before anything, let me share the dates. So we're playing in Makhanda at the National Youth Jazz Festival, at Makhanda, the National Arts Jazz Festival, which will be on the 2nd to the 4th of July. And we're also playing on the 10th of July at the Youngblood Art Gallery Africa at in Cape Town on Bree Street, and as well as the Untitled Basement in Johannesburg on the 12th. And all of those you could find. You can find tickets on Quicket or through my website. There are links there. So I'm super excited to bring this music home. I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm excited to actually get to see my friends and family, and I'm also excited to actually bring some of my band members whom I've been sharing what South Africa is to for the past 6 years, and who I know are excited and waiting in anticipation to finally get to visit South Africa, those of them who've not been there, that I get to actually share this experience with them. It's happened in such an amazing way. The plan that the album actually starts getting launched in South Africa.
Right.
A series of events happened that actually made this possible. Although it was not the initial plan, but at the same time, I think it had to be this, and that alone brings me so much joy. So I'm also excited about a collaboration that I'm doing with my fellow collaborator, mentor and professor Kevin Harris, who's also in the band. I'm doing something with him on the 8th of July in Stellenbosch at the Stellenbosch Chamber Music Festival. He is premiering his symphonic works called Light and Resonance in Ode to Steve Biko. Yeah, wow. So there's all these things that are happening that I'm really excited about, but most of all, I'm really excited to just, I always explain us back home as a singing nation. Because a lot of the audiences we play for here, pretty much just like, I'm like, we're playing emotive music, and not to say that they're not feeling it. They are, and they do respond, but they do. It's in their own way, but I always say to my bandmates, man, back home, we are a singing nation now. Our audiences are very dynamic, and
correct.
So I'm so excited to actually share that part of it with my band too. Yeah.
And as we wrap up, we've only got like 2 minutes left of this conversation. It's Youth Month in South Africa, Lou, and I want us to play out with the next single from the project before it comes out on the 4th of July 2025. Youth of 76. Let's talk about the single and what it means to you today. As we reflect anyway on this day in history tomorrow, which is the Monday of the 16th, and of course the history of South Africa and why it's so important for you to pay tribute to this commemoration.
Yes, it actually comes out this Friday. It would have been it will 13th, be out by the time. Yes, it will be out. And this song pretty much actually, what started as a simple idea of just me returning home just before June 16, when I first came back home to do a tour with Azania. I suddenly remembered that, actually, I've been on an American calendar. So some of the most significant events back home, are, June 16, and which is something that has been such a part of my life growing up from primary school through to, being at college. And so what felt like just me going down memory and this melody coming about, I wrote the song in homage of, the youth of 76, and I recognize that, I am where I am, partly because of what they did. I walk in their shoulders, and they've opened up this incredible opportunity for me to be able to, dream and go beyond, and be able to even get to a place where I can actually study music in other countries. So this song is pretty much a reminder, of all those that youth of 1976 and the great work that they fought for and what they represented. And I just wanted to bring light into that conversation and perhaps continue the conversation, when it comes to things like equal education and so forth. Yeah.
Really incredible. You and I can carry on forever, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this Sunday. And I look forward to seeing you, on the South African bandstands for the upcoming tour in July. An audience is eagerly waiting for you to come through and share this incredible music. And of course, thank you once again for joining us this Sunday on the KJ Show.
Thank you very much, Puti.
Absolutely. He is a South African-born, New York-based, award-winning drummer, composer, producer, and bandleader, live from New York this Sunday, Lumanyano Mzi Bazana. And as always, he was on the KJ Show.